Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into the process. Crimson Tide Recruiting. We're back this week for another week of shows of the process. Touchdown, Alabama's premier recruiting show. As always, you guys can check out the process every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Touchdown, Alabama's YouTube page. As all of you know, Alabama picked up their latest commit in 2021, four-star wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks on last Friday, and Alabama is looking to continue momentum on the recruiting trail. So in this episode of the process, I wanted to take a look at some of Alabama's top targets who may commit to the Tide next. I wanted to look at some targets who are up to make their commitment, or their commitment could be on the horizon. They're keeping everything in the air. I want to take a look at a couple of guys who could be announcing their verbal commitment to the University of Alabama very soon. But before I get a chance to give you guys my opinion on that, I do want to hit you guys with some recruiting updates, keep you guys updated on everything Alabama football recruiting. So with that being said, let's get the process started. Alabama's coaching staff is continuing to recruit, continuing to extend offers, as they recently offered 2023 tight end Mac Markway, a hybrid tight end, in the 2023 recruiting class. You guys should check out their article on touchdownalabama.com. I will include the link in this description of this video. I also caught up with 2022 four-star outside linebacker Cyrus Moss out of Nevada, one of the more physical linebackers in the 2022 recruiting class. I think he fits right into the mold of what Alabama is looking for at the outside linebacker position, which is one of the reasons Alabama did extend the offer to him. I also caught up with him. The link to that article will be in this description, so you guys can check out that article as well. Alabama also offered a 2022 athlete and Cameron Miller out of Memphis, Tennessee. This is a kid who's going to be ranked as an athlete on most recruiting sites. A kid who Alabama really likes at the defensive back position at the moment. He's going to continue to grow, as most of these 2022 2023 guys will continue to grow, as well as guys in the 2021 recruiting class. So you guys check out all of those articles on touchdownalabama.com. Some of the guys who recently got an offer from the University of Alabama. Alabama's latest offer actually went out to an in-state cornerback in Traquan Fegan, a 2022 cornerback out of the state of Alabama, out by the way of Oxford High School in Oxford, Alabama. So Traquan Fegan is the latest player to receive a verbal offer from the University of Alabama. Alabama's also still recruiting 2021 guys, as they were recently included in a top schools list released by three-star defensive back Jordan Gilbert of Louisiana. Alabama hosted him for their Junior Day event in March. Alabama's coaching staff has continued to stay in contact with them, along with Alabama's defensive coordinator Pete Golding, with him recruiting the Louisiana area very hard. Alabama was also included in a top 15 released by 2021 five-star offensive lineman Trishan Lake out of the DMV area. So Alabama continues to recruit different guys in the 2021 recruiting class, continuing to extend offers to other guys to develop relationships, start to build relationships with younger guys. So Alabama's coaching staff is doing their best to virtually recruit throughout this recruiting dead period. But next, I'm going to dive into a couple of guys who I feel may be on the verge of committing to Alabama. Alabama may get their commitment in the next couple of weeks or so. The first guy I want to discuss is a guy a lot of Alabama fans are already talking about, and that's four-star defensive back Kane Williams out of Louisiana, who is set to announce his commitment in the coming days. Kane Williams is a four-star safety out of Louisiana. He is set to announce his verbal commitment on May 15th. He was originally set to announce his verbal commitment during the month of March, but he held off and announced a final three instead, and included Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M. Alabama was able to host Williams before the current recruiting restrictions were put in place, which is huge for Alabama, getting him on campus for one of his last visits before the current recruiting restrictions were put in place. For those of you who may not know, the current recruiting restrictions bans all in-person contact between coaches in prospects, so no prospects can visit any schools, or no coaches can visit any prospects at home. So all of those visits have been banned. All of those visits are a violation at this point with the current recruiting restrictions in place. So Alabama was able to get them on campus during the month of March for one of their junior day events, their second and final junior day event. But when you look at Williams, he's a guy that stands at 6'2" and weighs 205 pounds. He's one of the bigger defensive backs in the 2021 recruiting class, which should allow him to play closer to the line of scrimmage at times, which Alabama likes to do with their safeties at times, using those guys closer to the line of scrimmage. This is something that Minka Fitzpatrick did pretty well at the University of Alabama during his time at the Capstone. But one of the things I really like about Williams is his hips movement at the safety position. You can tell he really is flexible in the hips. He really can cover a lot of ground on the back end with his speed and his knowledge at that safety position. I think if he continues to grow and continues to make some strides once he enrolls into whatever school he chooses, I think he could really turn to a hard-hitting safety at the next level. So Alabama looks to be in a good position with him. We know they are in his final three. We know he's one of the schools they are considering. So Williams is the guy who will announce his commitment on May 15th. The only guy who I'm going to talk about today who actually has a solid commitment date set. Shambre Jackson, a 4-star defensive lineman out of Orlando, Florida, is another guy who put in the mix just based off Alabama's coaching staff, making him one of their top defensive targets in the 2021 recruiting class, showing a lot of interest in him as Alabama's defensive line coach Freddie Roach was speaking to him every day before he visited the University of Alabama for their second and final junior day in March as well, along with Williams. Jackson was also on campus during their junior day event on March 7th, and Alabama's defensive line coach, as I said, was in contact with them almost every day leading up to that visit, and Alabama's coaching staff has remained in contact since then. As I said recently on the process, and I actually wrote a story about his reaction to it as he actually got on FaceTime with Nick Saban as Nick Saban continues to recruit virtually. Some of Alabama's top defensive targets getting on FaceTime with Nick Saban, getting a chance to interact with them face to face as we go through this social distancing period, trying our best to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. So Alabama has been in heavy contact with Shambre Jackson. This is a kid who does not have a commitment date set, does not have a commitment time frame in mind. So this is a kid who could commit at any time, and I think Alabama looks to be in a good position with them, showing a lot of interest in him. And I think that interest is very mutual. As Nick Saban said, there's a need for defensive ends for Alabama in the 2021 recruiting class, especially expressing that heavy interest in Jackson. But when you look at Jackson on the field ability, he's a defensive lineman with a lot of length to him at 6'6". He's a guy who possesses a lot of strength. He uses that strength to his advantage in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. He could stand to add some more hand techniques and get better at being better at using his hands, because you're not going to be able to rely on that strength in the SEC, especially in the trenches in the SEC. But Alabama really likes Jackson. I think this is a kid who should be on the radar, although he does not have a commitment date set or a commitment time frame in mind. McKinstry is a guy who's kind of hard to keep out of this conversation just based off him saying that a commitment could come at any time when he feels the moment is right. Of course, Alabama hosted him for their junior day event in February. They have continued to remain in contact. They have made him a priority. There's an opportunity for him to play both basketball and football at the University of Alabama, so they are making sure that they are in the best position to land McKinstry and add him to their 2021 recruiting class. But so are other teams like Auburn, Tennessee, and Clemson. Among the schools are really pushing for McKinstry, and I think he's such a special talent. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to announce a commitment anytime soon. I think he wants to visit some more schools possibly before he makes a commitment. Of course, he may make one whenever the moment feels right on those visits, but I think this is a kid who really wants to evaluate all of his options. And Alabama was really one of the only schools he visited before the recruiting dead period was put in place. So I'm pretty sure he wanted to go to more schools, visit more schools during the spring, hopefully visit more schools during the summer, but he was unable to do that. So Alabama's coaching staff using that to their advantage in a way, making sure that they're staying in contact with them. They know his visit to the University of Alabama is fresh on his mind, so they're continuing to stay in contact with them, continuing to attempt to stay in the best position. But as I said, I think McKinstry is a kid who's going to really evaluate all of his options, take some more visits before he comes to a decision. Of course, other teams are going to continue to push for him. This is a kid who's possibly going to play defensive back at the next level. Of course, Alabama wants him at the cornerback position, but he could easily play wide receiver, could easily be a kick returner with this confidence in his athleticism, which is something that really jumps out to me. He has a nice vertical, which translates to the basketball game. He's an all-around athlete, a kid who every major Power 5 school every major Power 5 school pretty much wants in their 2021 recruiting classes. Quincy McKinstry out of Pinson Valley High School in Pinson, Alabama. But there are other guys you could possibly put into this conversation. I know I had a couple of guys ask me about Ian Jackson, the 4-star linebacker out of Prattville High School in Prattville, Alabama. I have been in contact with Jackson. Of course, Touchdown Alabama was in contact with Jackson before he even heard from Alabama in any form or fashion. As he told me when I interviewed him, he said they haven't had any contact with them at all. And he about said I was going to still interview him because I felt that Alabama would like this kid at the outside linebacker position, a kid who could possibly play at all three levels in the SEC. And I think Alabama was going to get on him as other colleges were starting to offer him. And I felt Alabama was going to start offering him. And I have been in contact with Jackson as of late. We're actually working on doing some type of video, but it's not a commitment video or anything like that. So Jackson is a kid who you could possibly put in the mix as far as Alabama possibly being in a good position with him, but I don't think a commitment from him is coming anytime soon. But he's a kid Alabama has really recruited hard in the 2021 recruiting class. So Alabama's coaching staff is continuing to recruit. Those are three guys that I would put in the mix as far as Alabama getting their commitment soon. If things change with Jackson, of course, I'll update that with you guys right here on touchdownalabama.com. That will wrap up this episode of The Process. Thank you guys so much for joining me right here on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. As always, subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com. Pick up your subscription to Touchdown Alabama. With that subscription, you'll be able to read all of our subscriber-only articles as well as get your hands on our yearly print magazine issue. You'll also be able to read all of our recruiting profiles, our in-depth scouting reports, and also our in-depth draft projections for Alabama's current players who are draft eligible. So you guys check out all of that on touchdownalabama.com with the subscription to Touchdown Alabama. Be sure to download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is located in the Google Play Store as well as the Apple App Store. So be sure to download that app. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiter analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.